So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Lori Haid. I'm the Director of Student Services here at the School of Information and Library Science. And tonight, I'm super excited to have some BSIS alumni come back and talk to our current students about their career path since leaving SILS. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and let everyone introduce themselves, talk about where they're at now, and then I have a few questions for them, but we definitely want to have time for any audience questions that come in. So I'm going to start with Alex. Can you start us off with who you are and where you're at and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Alex Schoaf. Sorry about my camera. It's not working right now. But anyway, I just wanted to so happy to join. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm doing now. And so I actually graduated from SILS in May of 2023, so coming on 2 years now. And honestly, it was a super great experience. I loved it very much. Currently, I am working at this company called Yardi, which does a property management software. So pretty much if you rent an apartment, there's a good chance that the software is managed by them. And so that's currently what I'm doing now. I'm doing a kind of product support with them right now currently. So yeah.
Thank you. Chris, can you introduce yourself next?
Happily. My name's Chris, and I graduated SILS back in 2016. And my current position, I'm at Duke Energy here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a lead software engineer.
Thank you. Khalees, can you take it away for us?
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Khalees. I am from the class of 20. I currently work at an accounts payable software company in Charlotte, North Carolina called Avid Exchange. And I work in cybersecurity, specifically in governance, risk, and compliance.
Thank you. Ethan, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Ethan Kavanaugh. I graduated from SILS in 2014, and I currently work at SAS. I work on one of our enterprise technologies teams. I've been SAS for 9 years, but I've worn many hats in different roles over the past 9 years.
Great. And Devin.
Hey everyone, Devin Williams, and I graduated in 2015 from SILS, and I currently work at Wells Fargo in an IT audit role. Short and
Excellent.
sweet.
Thank you. Awesome. So I would like that, I'm not necessarily going to call on each person, but feel free that anyone can answer each question. We want to make sure we're getting as many perspectives as we can. But my first question is, what did you think you were going to go into in information science when you were at SILS, and how did you start moving in that direction through either internships or coursework or things like that?
I'll get started off. When I was in college, I had a very loose idea of what I wanted to do. I knew it was something in software, but exactly what, I wasn't quite sure. I think in my senior year, I had a job on campus writing software. So then that kind of helped solidify it for me too. But for me, I knew it was something in software. And so I really appreciated some of the hands-on courses that were offered through SILS. I took a web development course, and that was some really nitty-gritty, let's build something, as opposed to just kind of theoretical math of some variety. I took a database course, and that was like hands-on, let's put data in the database and get it out and delete it and all the fun stuff like that. So for me, it was really valuable doing just some of the hands-on coursework that really got to the core of like what building software looks like and feels like.
Honestly, I had no idea, to be honest. um, I bounced around. When I went into Carolina, I wanted to be a physical therapist, and then I very quickly learned that science is not my thing. And thought that I was like, well, I'm helping friends with their laptops, and like felt like I was doing a better job than campus computing was at the time. And and so I was just like, well, maybe this will work. And I really enjoyed being able to like find skills and go, wait, I can help people and using technology to things that I really, really love to do. And so when I left, or when I graduated from Carolina, I was like, okay, I found a job. I was like tech support. This is similar to what I thought I would be doing, and did that for a couple of years and ended up doing some professional services stuff with them. And I was like, okay, well, then I got the job at SAS doing pre-sales, which is people in technology again, which I liked, but I didn't like sales. And so I just bounced around until stayed at SAS, but I just didn't know. But now I'm in a role that I really, really love. And I'm not coding, I'm not making products, but as much as I'm building environments and supporting environments and working with teams to make sure that they have what they need, and working with customers still. So we work with a lot of different stuff, a lot of products, a lot of different people.
I guess I can go next. I was going to say something similar, that I had no idea what I wanted to do. But then as senior year comes around, you're interviewing for jobs, you're looking for things. I started thinking about, like, I was minoring in computer science as well. So I wanted something that was tech related, but not necessarily, like, I didn't want to be a software developer. I didn't want to be heavily in the technology world. And so I actually ended up in IT audit, where I work directly with technology teams every single day. I look at the code, I review controls within the IT environment. And so it's still a tech heavy job without having to actually be in the tech space, if that makes sense. So I actually had an internship 2 summers where I worked on, I think, a database, billing database for a company, and I worked on quality assurance testing. And then, yeah, when I graduated, I got a job in the IT audit space. So it kind of put those, I'm sitting on the edge of technology, is how I would say it, because I'm between finance and technology. So I feel like it was like a middle ground for me, and that's it's worked out. So I've been in that field for 10 years now.
I can go next. So I grew up in Silicon Valley and always knew I wanted to work for a tech company. That was like a non-negotiable for me. Initially when I started at Sills, I thought I was going to do some sort of like business sales, tech role, and just kind of didn't really know as well. Just really had a blast though, taking a lot of electives that are offered at Sills. And funny enough, cybersecurity was one of the electives, and I just walked out of that class and I just loved it every day. I like actually really wanted to do the homework. I would, we got labs and I would take the labs home and like keep kind of tinkering around with what we learned, and just grew really passionate about cybersecurity and just kind of continued to explore it on my own. And that kind of grew into such a love and passion of mine. And when I was in college, people kept telling me, oh, you'll know when you find your calling. And I think that's the one great thing about Sills, is that they offer a lot of electives that allow you to kind of like find your calling, if you will. So yeah, I feel really lucky about that. But yeah, that's how I was brought into cybersecurity.
I can go. I think my path was different than a lot of everyone else's. So I started off at UNC going to do computer science, and then quickly realized I don't want to code the rest of my life by any means whatsoever. Found sales. I already knew about it. Applied for it and got into sales, and I was like, okay, let's give this a chance because technology is still very much my passion. Then I navigated really into that UX UI design space and wanted to do website design type stuff. Also realized that that field is very, 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 very competitive. You have to have like a amazing portfolio, a lot of experience for a field like that. I did get an internship doing like a software engineer UX role. So it's kind of that mix between what I initially was going to do with software engineering and then the UX and stuff, which I really like the design aspect, but again, with the coding, not for me. And so then I transitioned to kind of the product support type role where I am now, where I also still get exposure to working with SQL and databases. And so that is kind of, I kind of went like around the rainbow kind of, where I kind of did kind of different things before I found where I am now.
Thank you, everyone. My next question is because I was thinking it was not going to be this straight line, direct line, that by your sophomore, junior year, you knew exactly what you were going to do. I want to kind of talk about timing, because I feel like current collegians feel this monkey on their back, that they're already late, they're already behind, they haven't done what they need to do. And so some of you mentioned internships, some of you didn't. And if you could kind of talk about maybe your first role and still having the space to figure out what you wanted to do, and how it's not like it has to be all figured out before graduation, if that's what your experience was. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if anyone has any insight from that point of view.
Off the top, I mean, I can just go ahead and say that it's okay to wait. I will personally say that, like, I don't mind saying this, like, I had some health issues over the summers that I needed to take and do an internship, and I was unable to get an internship. And it's been okay. Like, I was still able to get a job right out of school. Was it a super high profile, super cool job? No, but it gave me a lot of really good real world experience working with customers and learning technology that I didn't get to work with in school. But it's okay. I was like, sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does, but I worked through it, worked with what I had, and, like, sure, you may feel like you're late, but you're not, you're fine. Like, you have a lot of resources at your hand, and yeah.
Yeah, I'll echo what Ethan said. You know, for me, I'm actually a transfer student. I spent my first 2 years at App State and then the second 2 at UNC. And so I was like really crushed and pressured to be like, oh gosh, I got to figure it out. Because I had a job on campus at the time writing software, and I knew that I liked it, but it wasn't permanent. So I knew that like going into senior year and like trying to figure things out, like I didn't know what it was going to be, but I needed to figure something out. And then I happened to find a company that like, it was like a precursor to what the boot camps are today, that you go and you learn software and they'd contact the other companies and yada, yada, yada. So I happened to found that. I happened to land at Duke Energy, and I've been there since 2017. And it's been just a really great place and journey for me. In terms of like figuring out what you want, like be open to whatever is there that you like and enjoy, at the intersection of like what you enjoy doing, what works well as a job, and something that like doesn't completely eat your soul up every day. And by that, like, for me, it took one of my friends being like, wow, Chris, like, how'd you get this answer for this Python assignment? I was like, oh, it's just a dictionary of dictionaries. Like, whoa, you figure that out like so easily and quickly. That's like not easy for everybody. And it took someone saying that for the light bulb to go off in my head, like, oh yeah, okay, this could be a thing for me. So, you know, like I think Elise had said, like, find something that like makes you excited to go to class, and like just take notes and like observe that and be like, oh hey, this kind of works for me. Maybe there's something here. And similarly to what I think Ethan's job is, like, you know, there's also roles that you might not be aware of, like the entire infrastructure ops thing. One, didn't exist back in the day, or two, if it did, I wasn't aware of it. So there's all sorts of opportunities that you don't even know exist, and maybe don't even exist right now, but will in the future. So, you know, the fact that you have it all figured out now is cool if you do, but it's also cool if you don't.
I think
I'll
that
second.
you can go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I second that, because I think everybody thinks they're supposed to have their dream job and have this great opportunity right after college, but that's not realistic. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's important to just find something that you're interested in, and then maybe you get that job and you say, oh, actually I don't love this, but hey, these other people are doing something that sounds interesting. And so I see people all the time jumping from team to team or from company to company after a year or two and finding something, and they're getting closer and closer to what they really love. And I think that comes with just experience, and you're not going to know, to Chris's point, everything that's even out there, because you just truly don't know until you get out into the workforce. So I think don't box yourself in is what I would say. And
I think
Alex, sorry I cut you off.
no, you're good. No worries. I was just gonna say that I think it's like fair to, and this is maybe a little negative a little, but the job market is not the best. And so sometimes when you get out, you have to find a job that, if you can find the job in your field, honestly, sometimes you're lucky to find a job in your field and like get that experience in. And so that's something what I did. I started as a startup company, and it wasn't necessarily like the type of role I envisioned for myself. A startup culture is very different than a corporate culture, like 100%. And that's, some people thrive in that, other people don't, and that's okay. Like you got to find what works for you. And so I realized that the startup culture is not really for me, but I got that experience and that exposure, and that helped me to land the role that I'm in now. And I absolutely love the role that I'm in now. So it's okay to get a job, to get that experience, to get to that next step, because the world we're in, it might, like, the market is not always going to be tailored to something where you're going to find that perfect role to begin with. So yeah.
Yeah, I would really
Sorry,
echo that. I think like a lot of times with your first job, like you just got to get your foot in the water. And like for me, like when I was an undergrad student, I thought I did everything right. I had an internship at MIT for 2 years. I was a cybersecurity intern. I had like some research publications under my belt, and my first job still out of school, like I struggled to find. And I ended up going with a really small company, and I kind of had my expectations of, oh, I'd be at a huge firm, like I'd be at one of the big four, like a big tech company, and that didn't pan out to be the case. And honestly, looking back, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I got so much exposure to so many different fields working at a small company. So definitely, when you have opportunities that arise, even if they're not exactly what you imagine, don't be afraid to take them, because you never know where they might lead you. So definitely, like, just stay open to any opportunity, no matter what the opportunity is in the job field right now.
To go off of that, I think a lot of times in interviews too, people are looking for, can you clearly communicate? Do you have leadership skills? Do you problem solve? Like those things can come from any job you have. They don't have to be something in your field. So for example, for 5 summers, I was a camp counselor, right? So some people might look at that and say, oh, she didn't have a job in tech or something like that. But I learned so much being a camp counselor and leading, groups of 12 5-year-olds every day. And then I got an internship later on. But like you have skills that you learn from any job you have. So it could be anything, truly. And you can find something to relate back to a skill that you have.
Yeah, and on that note, I think it's also possible to change your mind. I have a couple friends who started out in either UI, UX, and or software and switched over. And it's okay also to like take a job and evaluate and say, well, the work I'm doing isn't very fun, or the company I'm with right now, the leadership is too oppressive, or I feel like my voices aren't heard, or it feels bad and toxic. Like, things are malleable and you're able to make changes and choices along the way because you have that level of experience and that knowledge and the ability to present yourself well. So I also want to remind you that it's like it's flexible too to do what you want.
Thank you all. That's it's very important to share. I remember many of you as collegians, and there was that level of, and so that is true, right? And so just the perspective that it didn't have to be, it's nice to hear that that's a path that you could take. My last question before I open it up and see if we have any audience questions is I wanted to ask about your thoughts on networking and how you began to professionally network and what that looked like, and how you started to make that happen if you did, because I think that yes, strong academics are here. Yes, you can get experience in and out of the classroom, but then those networking conversations can be very powerful. So I wanted to see what experiences you had in networking that you wanted to share.
I guess in my experience, I would say the biggest tip I have is to take advantage of things on campus. Truly, like even if an event sounds like it may not be of interest to you, why not go and just listen into whatever they have to say or whatever job opportunities they have. That's actually how I got my job. It was I had heard of the company. It was Deloitte. Obviously, I'd heard of them, but I didn't know what they were offering. And I went and I talked with a couple of people that had recently graduated from UNC and were working there. And then the job sounded interesting to me. So it went from there. So, and I had attended many events prior to that, but that one stuck out to me as being of interest. So I only went because, Sills was having it and there were a couple other people going. I wasn't planning to originally go. So I would say take advantage of those when they come up.
Yeah, for me, in the beginning, networking was an important thing for a few reasons. Like like was somewhat directionless and knew that I wanted to do something in software, but um, I knew that if I met someone and I was interested in them, I just kind of add them to LinkedIn. It was kind of like Pokemon, right? Got to catch them all, got to friend them all for that time. And not that I ever got like a job from LinkedIn, but I got to meet a lot of interesting people and I keep up with them still and I'm aware so that because of networking though, like it paid off on the back end. Like if I ever get separated from my current company or have a crisis of job proportions, I have like a couple people I know I can call on. I'm like, hey, I think I need to switch companies. Are you available and are you hiring? So for me, it's more on the back end as well. Um, and I had a second point, can't think of it right now. I'll come back if I can think of it.
I thought of my second point, so I'll
Oh,
go
go
and
for
then
it.
you go back. So on the networking piece too, so the girl I met at the networking event on campus that had graduated and she explained the role at Deloitte, I actually still work with her at Wells Fargo. So I think your network is really powerful. And I met her, she was my buddy at that recruiting event. And then I went to, interviews in Charlotte, did all of the things, stayed in touch with her. And then there was another girl I met at that event and stayed in touch with her as well, and we worked together for 4 years at Deloitte. And then one of them left and came to Wells Fargo. And I said, hey, I've had enough at Deloitte. Like, I'm looking for opportunities. And at that point, I was interviewing in other places. And she said, hey, we have this opportunity. And it's not on her exact team, but I still see her every day. She's still here. Like, that network got me this opportunity as well. And I'm really thankful for it. So it's more powerful than you think to just, connect with that one person, because you never know where that will lead you 10 years later.
And I'd also say too, it's much more likely that if you are connected with someone or have know someone somewhere, if you know someone and they can submit your resume for you, they can send it to the top of the list or send it to the recruiter or the hiring manager, and it's much more likely that it gets seen. And so that's something that like I'm always like telling people. It's like, look, if you want a job at SAS, I'm happy to help you. Like, just talk to me, kind of thing. Like, I'm happy like to help. Like, this is a great place, and if you want to be here, I want you to be here too, kind of thing. And so, like, don't stop networking, never stop, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because I mean, we all need help. Like, that's how I got in at my company. It's like my mother-in-law was like, Ethan's looking for a new job, to a friend, and she's like, oh, I'll submit his resume for him, and here we are. I had applied up for that job by myself and didn't hear anything back, and then she submitted the resume for me, and here we are. So
I think building on that, like have people like read over your resume and tailor it, like have like a master copy on Google Docs and like tailor that for each position. And then every time you apply to a bunch of different roles, and then each time you work any sort of part-time gig or internship or job, do like your best at that. Use these people as connections for future ones so you can have those references, because the references are going to be like some of the most important things you'll have that you can hold on to, like be memorable. And then like build out your LinkedIn profile and like again connect with all those people, network, reach out to people, message them if they like went to sales and see what they're doing now. People just like us. And like I'm sure everyone will be happy to help because everyone I've ever met that's related to this have been super nice. So yeah.
We've all been there too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thought I had was, it's also totally cool to like find a meetup or other group of people who are interested in what you're interested in. So for me, like I'm a big fan of I would use Java, a framework for it called Spring, and there was like a Spring meetup here in Charlotte, and so I got to meet people around who use the same technology or are solving the same types of problems as me, and that was really cool. So use it as a vehicle to meet with people who are kind of into the same thing you are, even if it's a short-lived interest.
Yeah. And I would say too, just, be friendly to folks, right? Anyone that you talk to, just, you know, I second adding them in on LinkedIn, but don't just add them on LinkedIn and ghost them. Wish them a happy holidays, right? Reach out if you see that they're doing something. Stay active with them. Avid Exchange, who I'm with now, I was actually an intern with back in college. And after college, I didn't go back to Avid Exchange. I went to a couple other companies. But I stayed in touch with a lot of the folks that I was intern with. I'd go and get coffees with them. I'd, catch up with them. Actually, one of them I would babysit for in exchange for help for a certification exam. So I just stayed in a lot of close touch with these folks. And then they had a position open and they said, Khalees, like she would be great for this. Like, let's give her a call. So really, like, don't just passively network, actively network. Really like make an effort to stay in touch with people because you never know when it's going to help you out down the road, right? I could have been like, oh, I worked there and now I'm done and now I'm only looking forward. Like, make sure you're looking back at the contacts that you already have because that's going to be what really helps you, and who knows what it'll lead to, right? So that's my recommendation.
Thank you, everyone. At this point, I am opening it up to the floor if there are any questions. We are recording, so we could put something in the chat and I can read the chat if you don't want to have your voice on this recording like mine is. And then when people hear it later, it'll be. So we can use the chat feature. You're welcome to come off mute and ask. So I'll give it a minute and see if any audience questions pop up. I see the first one. I have a question. Did you do any personal projects while in undergrad? And is there anything you wish you did more while you were in undergrad?
I wish I would have made a portfolio like that was more encompassing, like not just a resume, but like also a portfolio. Um, and then yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. And just because I initially, since I was into that design type stuff, that would have been good for that. But also with coding projects, or really, I'm sure you could use a portfolio for kind of anything.
So I was able to have 2 publications completed while I was an undergrad. I worked doing research with Dr. Jarahi. I know he's still there. And it was a really great experience. Honestly, it gave me great writing experience, even though I'm not really, still continuing on in research. I thought for a little while about going and getting my PhD. The writing skills have really stuck with me. And I really enjoyed it. And I get a lot of people who ask me questions, just even in interviews too, about like, oh, I saw this online that you did this, tell me about it. And essentially what we studied were digital nomads before COVID. So, kind of talking about remote work before it became a hot topic, which was really, really neat. So I really loved working on those papers. So definitely talk to your advisors, talk to your professors, see if they have any opportunities to get involved in SILS. Best piece of advice I can give. But the one thing I wish I would have done is, I think SILS offers, as I said earlier, like an amazing set of electives. And I fell in love with cybersecurity, right? And I wish I would have pursued, I don't know if y'all still do it, but like an independent study where you can kind of go off and learn and do a certification exam or go and learn something new. So if you're interested in something and maybe that course isn't exactly offered at SILS, or maybe you're like, this certification, is showing up on a lot of job postings that I'm interested in, right? You know, if it's not offered at Sills, try and find someone who's maybe closely connected, or network and find someone who's connected, and do an independent study and learn those skills on your own. I think it's fabulous that Sills kind of gives you that ability to go and chase things that they may not have in course offerings. So definitely don't be afraid to look into those kind of opportunities.
For me, this is going to sound bad. I kind of forgot you're supposed to do internships when I was in college. I didn't seek them out. I didn't really do them. I just didn't. I was out of the loop. So if you can, get an internship. That's kind of obvious advice. But to talk for just a second about personal projects, I was hiring a junior software engineer at my company, and it was an individual who had never really done software before. He had a nuclear engineering degree and had worked for a while at that. And so, when we look for juniors, we talk like others had said, like, how well do you communicate? Are you actually interested in writing software? Things like that. And so what really set him over the edge is, and this is he like went for an interview for like software, didn't get it. He asked the hiring manager, hey, like, what's a project you would give a mid-level person? And he took that assignment back on his own, did the entire thing, and said, hey, I built this working piece of software on my own, even though I don't have any formal experience. And that was like a really big plus for him and kind of got him the job. So, if you do find a project, whether it's in an interviewing setting or what have you, and are able to complete it, whatever it is, whether it's cybersec or UI UX or what have you, like doing something and proving I have and can manage and do something is really valuable. Just wanted to speak to the importance of it.
We had another question in the chat. Looking back, do you feel like information science was the right major for you, or were there times you considered switching to something else?
On mute again. Come on, Chris. All right. So for me, interesting question. For me, very specific to Chris. I was at App State, and there was a major there called Information Systems offered through the business school. And so it was like, how do businesses use and organize information as opposed to what SILS is? But I had to take like a year of accounting and everything. It was not very fun. So when I transferred over to UNC and I started this major, I'm like, this is very much what I want to graduate with, because it had a good like mix of like hands-on stuff and like theoretical things as well that have all mostly proven useful, I'd say. So for me, no, once I was here, I was like locked in.
I completely agree that it was the right decision for me. I don't think I would change anything, because I actually came in, I thought I was going to do computer science, and I think someone else mentioned that as well. And I liked it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I ended up just making that my minor. And so then when I got to information science, I actually took like an elective class to meet like a gen ed requirement. And I said, hold on, I love this class. I want to learn more. I didn't know about information science. And so that actually got me into it. And I loved, I know a few people have mentioned the electives. I feel like you can kind of touch a lot of different things, whereas some of the other majors at Carolina were very specific. And so I loved that about SILS and the classes that they had. And so I wouldn't change it. I liked it a lot. And I think it's proven successful for my career.
Yeah, I had a friend who like took a SILS elective class and they like finished it and like, dang, I should have went with the SILS major. And they felt like a little bit of remorse. They're doing fine, they're doing great. Like, don't worry about them. But like just to show like it's kind of like the best kept secret at UNC.
We had another question come in. Information science students could expand to a variety of roles. Which is more important, do you think, the company or the role?
It depends. It really does depend. I was very lucky to end up at a company that I love working for. And I've been pretty freely able to change roles pretty easily if it comes to it. And so, sure, I do think the role is important, but coming right out of school, I think it might, if it, I don't know how to answer that other than like, it really just depends. Like, if you can find a role that really suits you and you can get the job, awesome. But like at the same time, it's like company, I've loved working for the company that I'm at. Like, and it just so happens that the role there is also really flipping great. So
Good censorship, Ethan. No, I think like no role exists in a vacuum, right? A software engineer job at one company could be radically different than one in another company. And like Alex said, like in a startup, like you're kind of playing a lot more roles and doing a lot more hats. So when you look at like what a good post-college job might be or an internship might be, like role and company kind of determine what you do. And so like if you had to look more, maybe a little bit more on the role side, but like just recognize that every opportunity is really different. And you know, one role at company A would be different than company B. And outside of like the big companies, like companies don't matter so much, at least from what I've seen and how I evaluate candidates, as long as you have had some good experiences doing the things that you're about to do, that counts as far as experience, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that the company name and the name of your role, your job title, I don't think either of those necessarily matter. Those are very ambiguous and not that important. So what matters is the type of role it is. So what you're going to be doing, make sure you have a passion for it or an interest for it at least, so that you can like hopefully succeed in that role. Make sure the company is a company that actually cares about its employees, has that work-life balance, if that's the most important thing to you, like it is to me, or if salary or whatever is most important to you, make sure that company will provide that for you. Like the name aside, make sure that company gives you what you are wanting and what is most important to you.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but just to throw a third thing into the mix, I really think the people are important. So it's one thing to have a job title, a great company, whatever it is, but truly, if you find people that you enjoy working with, in my experience, you, even if the role isn't exactly what you want to do, you are going to be a rock star and you're going to work harder because you enjoy being around those people and you want to do good things with those people. And it's all about your team. So that's my experience, is I really enjoy the people I work with. And so it makes me better.
I'm going to second that, Devin. Like, realistically, I could probably be making like 1.5 times to 2 times more money doing my same job somewhere else. But I stick with my company because I like who I work with, you know? So it's really important to find your people.
I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I think it's so important, and I'm always so excited that our SILS alums are willing to give back to the current students. I'm going to ask if the panelists would be okay if folks found you on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. So I will continue I found you on LinkedIn, so I know I'll be able to help them find you. So thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to stop our recording.